Watching me? Type if you can hear me. Okay.
Battery 70%. Connected to phone.
Is it not connected? Hot and spicy. jumping makes you laugh. I do the jumping a lot. Not just me, it's everyone. Oh, so Randy, you might see shit like this in this. Yep. This is a very common thing right here. People are very creative with their characters. Oh boy. Oh yeah. Come that character, ain't she pretty? My favorite setup. She looks like a princess. Yes, I play as a girl. Just playing as a guy is boring as fuck. Ugh. My pet? What pet? What are you talking about? Oh, that thing. So, that's Minion, right? I have a list of little creatures that can follow me. I have 7 different pages of worth. Just to give you an idea of how much I've been playing this game, all of these different little creatures you have to earn. And they're not easy to obtain. Well, some are easy. Oh, I'm sure I've told you this before, there is a Yokai Watch event. So I'm sure you recognize, what was it, where's that fucking, like this guy, and this dude here. You can summon them right there next to you. pages right here. You can follow me. But normally nowadays I have this butterfly that follows me around, a Morpha. Check it out, Randy. I have a flying bed. Damn. Just need a healer. Critical castle. Oh, you think this is weird? Check it out. So that's a mount, right? Just like the mains, I have a page of mounts. I've got, what can I show you? This is the most common mount in the game. I'm sure you've seen this before, the chocobos. They're like big old chickens. Oh. Dungeon spawn. Queued up. This is what you call a dungeon, right? You do this to level up your character, well, your job. Right now I'm leveling up Bard, which uses a bow and arrow. Promise you, all these female characters they're all guys. Everyone knows it. There ain't no shame. It's the truth. Now, you might not know what I'm doing, pressing all these different buttons, but I can assure you, it's a lot easier than it looks. It's not as hard as it looks once you get used to playing this game. Yeah, I was meaning to try to get you and Lori to play this game. Spend time together, even though we're apart. Because this is the only game that I play, Randy. Got lost already? Get yourself a PS4, Randy. Or, I don't know. They are coming up with a PS5 pretty soon. So I don't know if it's a good idea. I mean, I don't see you having a need to get the PS5. Like, I don't have a reason to get the PS5, to be honest. It's the exact same thing that I have now, that I am playing, except it's a little bit better. If you have nothing to do at home and you have nothing but time, I would suggest to play this game. It's a lot of fun. But that's just me. Like right now, since I'm going to school and I don't have class during the weekends, like, and I can't go anywhere, I can't do anything. This is all I do. Like, I don't know if you or mom or dad think that I'm having the time of my life over here in California. I'm not. I'm not. I'm just as bored as you guys are. If you're stuck, you should play this game with me, Randy. Oh my god, Randy, get this game. Play it with me. Please. Oh shit, I'm gonna get hit. I'm gonna get hit. Wait, no, I'm not. Okay. I will teach you everything there is to know about Final Fantasy XIV. Swear to God. I will say though, if you do plan on playing this game, it's a big commitment. Like it's a subscription-based game. It's an MMO, which means you have to put in a lot of time and effort. So it's up to you whether or not you want to commit to something like that. I mean, you don't have to commit all your time, right? It's up to you whether or not you can play as much as you want or as much as you don't have to constantly play. You said mope.
Scurrying about my domain like insects. I will not suffer it!
Oh, that boss? Yeah. Bosses take a while to die.
Come no closer! Filthy creatures!
You're gonna like this boss. try to figure out what the mechanics are in this fight, just by watching. Every single fight in this game has a certain little unique something about it, which makes this game fun. There's never a dull moment.
Righteousness will prevail! Ah, can't you do anything by yourself?
So we're coming up to the final boss pretty soon. This is typically how long each dungeon you ever do takes.
Very well. If you will not be discouraged.
That's the final boss. Right. Really pay attention to what the patterns or the mechanics are. Let me know if you can figure out what it is. Or if you understand it, I mean.
Stop them, damn you! I don't care what it takes!
What? I got hit by that? Man, I was late. Oof. Someone died. That's the dungeon. So, I want you to think about this, right? That was one dungeon. Okay? That was one I just did, right? Mount Gold. There are almost... Each one of these is also a dungeon. There's almost like 100 dungeons throughout this game. So Realm Reborn, that was the first expansion. So these are all low levels. All of these dungeons, I've done all of them. And I know every single dungeon, and I know all of the mechanics. I've been playing this game for so damn long. Yeah. And then you have Guildhast, which I don't really worry about. Then you have a thing called Trials, which they're kind of like boss fights without having to go through a dungeon, but they're a lot more complicated and a lot harder. But you get a decent reward for completing them. Let me see if I can join up on someone who's doing something. Let's see, Dancing Plague. Sure, I'll do this one. Check it. Cool. So I joined a party just now, and these are all people here, right? I guess I'll go. So that dungeon that I just did leads up to this fight, which is a separate fight from the dungeon that I just did. So I don't know if you were paying attention, there was this dude that was yelling throughout the dungeon. That was Lord Vothri. He's a big, chunky fella, but he transforms into this fucking sexy ass 8-pack daddy. This game does that a lot. There's like a lot of ugly characters and then they go through a transformation and they turn super hot. So yeah, so we were just down there. I was just down there just now. And then based on the story, we come up here and fight this fella. Is he doing diurnal or did I do it? Are you lacking? So, yeah. A lot of people are kind of assholes in this game. It depends on who you run through. But yeah, because as you can see, I'm playing a different class now. I'm playing as a healer, so I'm not really focused on damage anymore. I'm focused on healing the party. Make sure they don't die. So there's 3 different healers. White Mage is pretty much the through and through common healer. A Scholar is a healer that's focused on putting up shields. And an Astrologian is a mixture of both. But its unique trait is you pull up these cards, right? So I'm basically kind of like a fortune teller. So I'm gonna pull up a card right now. And then what that does is I can place a buff on someone in my party to do more damage. So this party list shows everyone. If you can see, there's a number next to each person from 2 to 8. A is the main tank. So the person that has the lower number is doing the most damage, who is not a tank. So I'm looking for someone who is red and has the lowest number, so this person right here, I'm going to give the buff to him because he's doing the most damage. So it only makes sense to give the card to the person that's doing the most damage. Just out of general curiosity, if you were to consider playing this game, what sort of weapon would you think you would see yourself using the most? A scepter? So that means you would probably either be a white mage or a black mage. So you want a scepter. So that means would you rather be doing damage or would you rather be a healing? Dude, come on, are you serious? So what happened there is someone with that really big giant circle touched one of these things here, and it exploded, and it gave everyone a debuff. So you want to be a black mage? Alright. I'll show you some black mage gameplay right now. See if you'd be about it. I flew what? I flew what? Did your cat step on your keyboard or something? I'm gonna leave this party once we're done with this shit. Okay, let me put on my black mage. Put this on it. Oh, idiot. So, for Black Mage, A lot of the time when you're going to be playing, you're going to be standing still. That is your main job, is to stand still. Because whenever you cast a spell, you have a cast bar that's going to go off. Hold on, let me demonstrate. Let me go to a striking dummy. Underwear. So it has been a minute since I've played this class, so you have to bear with me if I try to remember shit. Alright. So to put it simply, like I said, you're going to be pretty much staying still the entire time you do any sort of damage. Since you're a caster, you have a cast bar that's right here, right? And if you move, it gets interrupted. So you have to be standing still for the majority of the time that you're trying to dish out damage. So for Black Mage, so there's 3 different casters right now. There's Summoner. Shit, I can't change job right now. Okay. I can show you later. So for Black Mage, the main elements you'll be dealing with damage is fire, ice, and lightning. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be juggling between fire and ice. Lightning is really not that prevalent, but it is still important. So let's start off with doing a basic fire attack spell. Now so every time you cast a fire spell, your magic slowly goes down to 0, right? Because fire is your prevalent damage element. It takes the penalty of taking most of your MP. So this is where ice comes in, right? So whenever you use ice, your MP regenerates, and pretty quickly. So that's why you juggle between ice and fire. You use fire to do your damage, and ice to gain back your MP. Does that make sense to you? Does that sound complicated? Because it's gonna get a little bit more challenging as I go on. So if you notice down here, I don't know if you can see my little mouse pointer. If you pay attention to this right here, where it says Fire 3, sometimes that button is going to have this little, right here, this little outline that's spinning across. That means that that's a free spell that you can use without casting any MP. And as of right here, there's a timer that tells you how long you have left to use it, or else you like lose the ability to cast it. Oh well. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let me go to a different striking dummy. Hang on. I need to go to a random striking dummy. Hold on. Pretty sure he has the. So I'm sure you've been looking at the timer that counts from 15 to 0. I haven't really explained that yet, but I'll get to it in a second. I'm gonna try to not overwhelm you with information because this game does that very well. It overloads you with a shit ton of information. Perfect. Strike the dummy. So this little symbol right here, all it does, it shows you how much time you have to either run out of MP or to cast an ice spell. And if you see these little balls that are rotating, each of these balls increase my damage output from fire spells. At the same time, it also makes the fire spells cost more MP to cast. So, okay, yeah. So in the basic fundamental Black Mage style playlist, style of playing, yep, this is all you do in the basics. Now I'm gonna introduce Enochian. So Enochian is going to allow me to cast. So right now I've been only casting Fire 1 and Fire 3, but I do have a spell called Fire 4. So using this ability right here allows me to use this ability. But in order to use it, I have to be under the effect of fire. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cast a fire spell, and then I'm gonna use Enochian. Now, as you can see, I can use this spell now. And then I can do the big damage. What Enochian also allows me to use is Blizzard 4, which does the same thing as Blizzard 3, except that it's powerful and it gives me my 3 stacks of ice. So, I'm sure you've raised. So, what makes this, what makes the Black Mage, what makes it its unique playstyle is you have to juggle between using Fire 3 and Blizzard 3. You don't want to use Fire or Blizzard when you have 3 stacks of the Umbral Ice or the Astral Fire, which is these little crystals up here. So watch what happens when I use Blizzard 1. They all disappear. Now, I'm not really sure why that happens, but for whatever reason, you want to juggle between Fire 3 and Blizzard 3 so that way you don't lose any of these crystals. Because in doing so, you don't lose out any time from having to re-up these crystals. Put this back. So now what you have left with is using up all of your Umbral Hearts, which, so when you use Blizzard 4, you get these little 3 ice picks, which decrease the your fire spells. So you can apply Fire 4 more times than without using these little fire picks, these little ice needles. Okay, so now, this is what I was going to mention before about fire. So now that you have Enochian going off and you have this little timer counting down from 15 to 0, you have to figure out how to juggle between, juggle between fire and ice without losing your stacks of Umbral Hearts and without using your Astral Fire buff. So when I go down to about 3 seconds, I reapply a fire, so that way I can re-up this timer right here. Because if I keep on using Fire 4 over and over and over, as you can see, the timer up here doesn't reset at all. But if I use a fire or a fire 3, the timer goes back to 15 seconds. And if this runs out, then I lose all of my crystals up here. So since I have no MP left and the timer is about to run out, I will cast a Blizzard 3. So I can get these crystals back, so I can reset the timer. And then I'm going to do Blizzard 4 to get these ice picks right here. And then Fire 3 to go back to being fire. And then I can use my Fire 4 3 times. Since I'm about to run out of time, I apply a fire and then go back to Fire 4. So there's another mechanic called Despair, which is pretty much, think of it as like a finisher. So the rotation that I was doing was previous expansions. That's what you would do over and over. So now I'm going to introduce what Despair does. So Despair is pretty much like the final blow before you have to restart your entire rotation. In the perfect rotation setting, you want this to be your final attack before you start over from the beginning. Let me start off with fire. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use up all my MP and try to get to as low as possible before having to use my Despair. Crap, hang on. So I'm going to go back to Umbral. I'm going to get back my Umbral Hearts. Then back to Fire. And then back to Fire 4. Back to fire again. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one more Fire 4 and then use Despair as my final attack. And now I'm out of MP, but I did 50,000 damage to that striking dummy, which is generally what you want. So Despair, it uses up all of your MP to cast. So if you were to do it at the very beginning, if you try to cast Despair early, you lose all of your MP. Because its trait is to use all your MP, right? So what you want to do is to figure out how much MP you need to use it without having to use it early. And since Despair is your most powerful attack, it also uses up all your MP. You want to cast it right as the timer's about to go off, and you have just enough MP to use it, which is 800 MP, but I have 1200, so I'm still going to use it because it's not that much of a penalty. It's only, I'm missing out of 400 MP that I'm not using, or utilizing, but whatever. So now I'm going to talk about Xenoglossy. So, doing all that rotation, doing Blizzard 3, Fire 4, all of that shit. Oh fuck, use Fire 1, god damn it. Start over. So using Enochian, it does this little countdown from, it gives you 30 seconds, every 30 seconds that passes by, you get a free damage spell called Xenoglossy, which casts immediately. It's just like a bonus damage. that you get for not for not letting this timer go down to 0. As you can see, I just got one. So now I'm about to get it right back. I just used it. Cool. So, with all of that being said, what's going on right now? In order to maximize your DPS output, this is where the fire comes. I mean, this is where lightning comes in. So when you cast a lightning spell, it's gonna place a damage over time on the target that you just inflicted it on, and every single damage tick that it takes, there's a random chance for the lightning spell to proc, which means that you can use it for free without having to use a cast timer. So you can cast it right away without having to have any sort of movement. So right there I didn't get the proc, so I'm gonna try it again. And there it is. So that right there, Thundercloud. So I can just cast it, no cast time. So that's all just based on luck. Shit. So the challenge and skill that comes from this job is to do all of what I just did, what I showed. The lightning, the fire, the ice, the Xenoglossy stacks, doing all of that while being aware of your lightning. Sorry, there you go. Thunder 3. So that's what makes this job, what people think it's an easy job because you don't have to move around a lot. The challenge comes from having to be aware of like 4 or 5 different things all at the same time. That's what makes this job fun and challenging. But the reward is Black Mage is the highest DPS of the whole game right now. And if you can utilize all of your spells, which I haven't even gotten over the abilities yet. Oh, whoops. Oh, should I use fire? Oops, start over again. Yeah, doing all of this is I'm having a lot of practice, because even I've been playing this game for so long, there's a lot of times where I still fuck up this job. So now I'm going to talk about ley lines. So this little ability, what this does is that little ring that's underneath me, as long as I'm inside this little spinning ring, my cast time is significantly faster. So I can be able to cast more Fire 4s than before having to switch over to ice. Shit, I fucked up again. So now that you know all of that right now, I have an ability called Triple Cast, which you never really want to use it unless you have to, unless there's an emergency that you have to move out of the way, like you absolutely cannot stand in a certain spot. So you cast it right here, and you're able to cast around and move at the same time. And then whenever you find your spot deemed safe, I have one more stack. So bam, now I'm here, and now I will stay here. Another thing you can do, so the ley lines that I showed you before, you can utilize that as a safe spot for you to dodge an attack from an incoming attack that's gonna happen in the future. So let's say, for example, where I'm standing right now is going to be a safe spot. Oh shit. Fuck. Damn. See, I'm letting the no kink timer go reach 0 because I'm not focused. So check it out. Let's say, for example, I put down ley lines right here, and this spot where I'm standing right now is going to be hit by an area of effect attack. So then I would move out of the way, and I have another ability that will pull me back to where I was just standing, like so. So let me see. Black mages do have another ability that, so whenever you cast Thunder, you'll immediately have the proc where you can cast it again without any cast time. And the ability is called Scathe. So check it out. I have it right here. I apply Thunder 3 and I immediately have it back. There it is. And I can cast it again right away if I wanted to. Yep. And there's a spare. So that is pretty much Black Mage in a nutshell. I'm not the best Black Mage, and there's a lot of people that are way better than me. And also probably explaining this job much better than I can. So, that's just one job from the entire game. So, as you can see, fuck. So, Black Mage is down here. It's level 80. It has that the 80 yellow mark symbolizing that I've maxed out the job to its full level as of right now. So all of these jobs that say level 80, I know how I was showing you how to play Black Mage. I can play all of these. I'm still leveling up Dragoon, and I'm almost done with Bard. Oh, alright, later.